What's up, VL AP Statistics students? Mr. Bachman here. This is your week 7, day 2 lesson. We're going to keep going with our AP review. All right, so a couple things I'm going to hit on today. A few announcement kind of things. I'm going to talk about the Unit 7 summative, a little bit more about the AP exam, the upcoming schedule. Hit some AP resources. We have a question of the day. And then I'm going to give my in-person students more work time on the AP review. So I'll probably cut the video short a little bit and give you some time to work on your review. All right, Unit 7 summative. I talked about this one in the last video as well. It is Schoology based. It's 50 summative points, 10 multiple choice, covers both T intervals and T tests, both one sample and two. And it's going to be due Wednesday, June 2nd by 3 p.m. All right, so at this point, the in-person exam is done, and most of you are signed up to do the digital exam. Again, that's Thursday, June 10th, and you do need to sign on by 2:30 on the 10th. It does go a little bit more than 3 hours, so do expect to be in there until probably past 6 o'clock. All right. Upcoming assignment schedule. So these two assignments I've already assigned. Those are both due June 1st by 3 o'clock. The Unit 7 summative due June 2nd by 3 o'clock. And then remember, I am giving a way for you to earn some summative extra credit points by doing that next set of AP exam practice problems. And that is due June 2nd by 3 o'clock. And then up here, again, talked about this in the last video, but if you're taking the digital AP exam, you need to download the testing app, download.app.collegeboard.org, or just sign into your College Board account. You should be able to find it there. But then once you have that app downloaded, I'd like you to take a screenshot and then submit that to Schoology. If you're not taking the AP exam, I also want you to make a submission, but just send me a note saying that you're not taking the exam. And that's due by May 28th, which is Friday. All right. Again, a couple AP resources. Take a look at these, some review videos. Make sure that you are familiar with the formula sheet and the format of the AP exam. And then also for the digital exam, once you have the digital testing app done, downloaded and installed, 1 to 3 days before the digital exam, you need to download the AP statistics exam. And you do need to do this for all AP exams. So if you're taking multiple AP exams, make sure that you have each of those downloaded. And it does, you do have a window 1 to 3 days before your digital exam. So somewhere around Monday or Tuesday, you should be able to, of that week, you should be able to download the exam. But again, you can't download it right before the exam. I want you to do it prior. Okay. All right, so next up is the question of the day. So I have 3 different questions, just kind of hits on a few of the things we've been talking about, or that we were talking about much earlier in the year. So I'm going to read them to you, and then if you want to pause the video, write out your responses, and then I will, then you can come back for the answers. All right, so number 1, explain the difference between an observational study and a comparative experiment. So explain the difference. Number 2, name 3 types of bias and give a short example of each. And number 3, explain the difference between stratified random sampling and cluster sampling. All right, pause the video, write out your responses. This will go into Schoology, and then you can unpause and come on back for the answers. All right, welcome back. Number 1, so an observational study versus a comparative experiment. So number 1, an observational study cannot show cause and effect. Remember, the only way to show cause and effect is with a well-designed experiment. So I said an experiment can show cause and effect because change is observed after a treatment is imposed. So remember, observational study, you're just observing what's going on. You're not trying to influence the response at all. Whereas an experiment, you definitely are trying to influence the response. So you can show cause and effect or causation with a well-designed comparative experiment. All right, that's number one. Hopefully you got that right. Number two, 3 types of bias, and give a short example of each. Here are the 3 types. Undercoverage, sometimes known as selection bias, non-response bias, and response bias. Those are the 3. So an example of undercoverage bias would be a door-to-door survey done only in an affluent neighborhood, right? That's going to create bias because you're only soliciting responses from these people in this affluent neighborhood. So you're losing out on valuable information from those who do not live in that neighborhood and maybe are at a different socioeconomic status. So that could definitely create bias based on whatever survey you're doing. Non-response bias just means when somebody either doesn't want to reply, and that creates bias. So an example of that would be an email survey without an incentive. So generally when you have a survey, people that are passionate about whatever topic you have are going to respond, or people that passionate either positively or negatively. So you're not going to get many people that kind of have those opinions right in the middle. So a lot of times surveys will be incentivized to get people to respond and give their opinions. But again, if that non-response affects how people are answering the survey, it's definitely going to create non-response bias. And then response bias is when a study will sometimes if the behavior of the person giving the survey is affecting results, like a deceptively worded survey, that can cause response bias. Also, sometimes the behavior of the respondent can cause response bias. So if there's a question that maybe somebody doesn't want to answer truthfully, that can also cause some response bias. So those are the 3 types of bias and a short example of each. All right, and then number 3, explain the difference between stratified random sampling and cluster sampling. So both are methods of obtaining a random representative sample, but aren't a simple random sample. So let's look at the difference between the two. All right, so number 3, to take a stratified random sample, the researcher splits the population into homogeneous groups and then takes a SRS, simple random sample, from each group. All right, so again, what we're trying to do is create homogeneous groups. So we're going to group people, by a similar attribute, and then, or what are things or whatever we're studying. And then we want to take a simple random sample from each group. So we want to make sure that there is representation from each of these groups that are important to our response variable. A cluster sample is somewhat similar, but has some important differences. So to take a cluster sample, the researcher's still going to split your population into groups, but this time they're going to be heterogeneous groups, right? So that they're generally going to be different in some way. The elements within each group are going to be different. And then what you do is you take a random sample of the groups, and you're going to sample all of the things or people in each selected group, right? So you're going to have these generally heterogeneous groups, and you're going to randomly select entire groups to be part of the sample. So you're not sampling from the groups like you are in a stratified random sample. You're selecting the entire group. All right, so that's kind of the big difference between stratified random sampling and cluster sampling. Okay, so that is your question of the day, so make sure that gets into Schoology when you are finished. And then, like I said before, I'm going to give my in-person students some work time on the 2014 multiple choice and the 2019 free response. So again, these are due June 1st by 3 o'clock. And then when you're finished, please move to the AP exam practice, that summative extra credit. That is the 2012 multiple choice and the 2018 free response. That'll just give you some more preparation prior to that exam. There are also, for the multiple choice questions, you do have the answers. They're attached to the assignments in Schoology. And then for the free response questions, you do have the scoring guidelines. So that gives you both the answers and how the questions were graded those years by the AP graders. Okay, so please do work on those assignments. And then this is, again, the due dates for all of those assignments. Okay, so good luck with your work. Please let me know if you do have any questions. Send me an email, or I do have office hours, 8:30 to 9:30 each day. So yeah, please reach out if you have any questions. All right, everybody, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.